Right guys and girls, Mark Crossfield here. Today we're talking backswing skills you need to be able to control many golf clubs, but we're going to focus more on driver today. So if you want to control this club, you need to have certain control of how you deliver it, and in turn your backswing can set up some triggers to allow you to control how you deliver that head, then in turn hopefully hit better drives. Let me know in the comments down below, how is your driving? Is it reliable or isn't reliable? Let me know in the comments. If it's not reliable and you can't control these skills we're going to talk about today, maybe practicing these skills might help you get some reliability of this. If you get some reliability on this club, your scores will tumble down. So hitting your driver in play with some level of distance and control obviously is a huge skill that will allow golfers to get around the course and hopefully shoot some lower scores. Let's talk about some backswing triggers and some backswing ideas that if you can control these ideas and play with them, you're going to have a really good chance of hitting a few more fairways. So ideas number one that you need to be able to control is backswing themes. So what I mean by backswing themes is if I swing on what I feel is a straightest theme, so I'm going to feel like I move the club relatively what feels straight back from the ball for me to try and deliver a pretty straight path of the club, so the club as it hits the ball is travelling kind of towards my target ideas. You're going to get these textbook takeaways where club's in line with my feet, very desirable position, so not too far behind me and not too far out in front of me, and then I hit a shot with that theme. So we've got a relatively straight drive. If we look at the path of that club, so the path of that club is 1.7 degrees out to in. So for all intents and purposes, it's very, very straight. If I can get that within 1 or 2 degrees of zero, as long as the face got some control, I'm going to hit some decent shots. Now, for lots of people watching, that sounds obvious, doesn't it? If you can get this takeaway where it's in a pretty neutral position, you've got a better chance of hitting a straight shot. And it's something that lots of golfers are like, you know, well, I know what you're meant to do, I just can't do it. Now, the reason that I can find a relatively straight path is because I know where this path feels like, and I know where this path feels like. So I know when I pick it up outside, I can return it in, and if I pick it inside, I can return it out. So I've spent plenty of time practicing the wrong movements to be able to find out where the middle movement is, and for lots of amateurs what you find is they just try and practice the middle one. They don't learn the other two. If you learn the other two, the middle one, the one that you desire often, it is much more obtainable. Now there's another problem with this idea as well, is that my patterns and lots of golfers' patterns, they follow a theme. So what I mean by that, if I take this club, which is what we call, say, outside, and it's going to encourage maybe more of a cutting action to the left, so you can see I pick the club outside of my hands, the butt end of the club's now shooting in towards my lead pocket. This will encourage me to swing out to in. So what happens is the theme of the backswing encourages a repeatable downswing. So now we see the path is out to in by 14 degrees. And then again, I'm just going to aim all nice and neutral and straight, but I'm going to bring this club behind me. So what we would call, you might say, inside, if you like, and that butt end of the club shooting off to the right. And if I do that, what happens now is the ball curves like a little bit off to the left, forget where the face is. If we look at the path on that one, that path's now 7 in to out. So we're talking like 21 degrees worth of path change there with the theme of my backswing. And obviously I'm taking those ideas to extreme to demonstrate, you know, my feelings here on camera and to show you big numbers in the change. But let's say you're trying to change your path by a little amount. I'm going to take it a little bit more outside, a little bit more inside. I'm going to know where that side of the takeaway takes my path and where this side of my takeaway takes my path. And then I can practice in between. And sometimes it's that calibration that you need to do to find out where zero is. Zero doesn't just come naturally. People think trying to swing straight is just going to happen. I'm just going to hit these spots. Often for golfers, if you allow them to find the extremes of both sides, them finding that middle ground is so much easier. And often what I see is a repeatable pattern of students trying to just hit an exact position, the same position each time. And then as soon as you empower them to play with either side, it's amazing how different or the bigger difference it makes to their control of the club path, then in turn of their drives. And it's even skills that they can use. You know, they want to hit one that starts curving that way, they use that theme, or they want to get a little bit more of a draw shape or troubles on one side. And they'll start taking it inside and swinging out to make sure the ball starts down the right. They're skills that you need to be practicing. Making sure you're practicing them is just, it's key. And you could do it as a calibration almost before each practice session with your driver. Hit a few cutty ones, hit a few into out ones, and then find that 0 point. Now, but there's other golfers who don't follow themes. And if you're one of these, you need to try and work on getting the themes to actually play through. And what I mean by that is we see people who then whip it inside on the backswing and redirect on the way down to have the out the wind path. Or they pick it up on the backswing and then whip it back inside and cut it on the inside. You need to actually practice getting these themes both sides. If you take it back, what we call outside on the way back, you need to try and chuck it back into that position on the way down and hit it. Same if you come inside, you need to get it back into that position and then try and hit it. Some simple triggers that you can do to help you with that. Get a club on the ground, say halfway between your feet and the ball here. I'm going to point one relatively straight on the ground, kind of about there-ish. And I'm going to find out where my straight path is. That feels like it's coming kind of just over the head and then lining parallel with, and then I'm going to go out this side and I can see the shaft's contradiction, that one on the ground, and I'm going to pull it inside, so I'm coming over the head of the club now, and I can see this one's getting inside. Having sometimes just a reference point, but trying to have it on the way back and the way down to get your themes working to allow you to try and find somewhere near that 0 point, because it's that 0 theme that you're going to want, the most reliable one to help you hit those better drives. Now, some people find it more natural to hit little cuts, and some find it a little unnatural, more natural to hit the draw. If those themes are not in this perfect position each time, don't worry about that, as long as the shot is repeatable and gameable. Get your themes working, people. It's a massive skill. I just don't see enough golfers practicing. Idea number 2. This one's really relates to what we just talked about, because you can use it with what we just talked about, and it's controlling the club face and having awareness of where this flat face is as it spins around your body, because obviously as it starts moving around your body, it's actually not pointing at the target ever again until one kind of extra point of your swing. It starts somewhere at where you want the ball to start, it'll get back to that point somewhere in the swing and then never point that direction again. Because if you think about that, I'm pointing my club relatively straight out in front of me. Now the face is pointing off at this wall. I point the club up here, now it's pointing up at the sky. It's just not ever going to get back to this spot apart from kind of 1 degree area down there. So having some awareness of where this face is as it goes around your body, what angle it's set at as it moves around your body, and what influences that angle is massive for controlling the face down at impact. So let me just show you what I mean. Again, I'm going to hit my standard drive. I want my face to be somewhere near 0 because my path's going to be somewhere near 0, hopefully. Maybe a slight toe strike, which is why it's turning that fraction left, but we'll see how my delivery went. So the path was a little bit more out to in on that one, 2.4, and then the face was pretty zeroed out to that path. So it was within 2 degrees of 0, and it was a little bit of a toe strike. So the idea is with that is as I take that club back, I'm relatively neutral at this position, so club not behind me, not in front of me, because I remember I'm trying to hit quite a straight path. I know when I get back to this point, the face is pointing somewhere slightly down to the ground, so it's not turned up to the sky and it's not turned right down to the ground. There's a slight incline this way. When I get to the top of the backswing, I know the face is somewhere in line with my kind of lead arm, so I know it's not toed down to the ground or faced up to the sky. And obviously I can't see those things. I can just feel where my standard is. So where my standard is, and then I know if I twist it more, it's going to have an effect on the face, and if I twist it less, it's going to have a different effect on the face. Again, like the themes of the takeaway, understanding how much twist is going in that face as it moves around my body allows me to find 0, but again, the only reason I can find 0 is because I know where the other 2 feel. So I'm going to do a shot now where I turn this face up to the sky really early on. I'm doing this in my forearms and lead wrist. I'm extending this lead wrist, cupping it more. I'm going to feel like I'm rotating my arms a bit more, and if I do one like this, I know it doesn't work. I'm going to get a big carve off to the right. If we look at that face, again, I'm trying to manipulate the face in an incorrect way for me hitting straight. So a face now 8.4 open to this path. And then I'm going to do another one now where I try and turn the face more down to the ground. When it gets to the top of the backswing, it'll be pointing more up at the sky. So even though I'm not watching this, I'm feeling this. If you stop me at any time, I'd be able to tell you where that face feels like I've put it. And then in turn, the shots will confirm that. You can see this one low hooking off to the left. So that does suggest I've done what I was trying to do with my wrist with the face. Being able to understand how to hit the big high carve to the right as well as the low hook to the left, being able to manipulate that face and feel where it is as it moves around my body is actually the skill. That allows the skill of finding a neutral much easier because I know where the extremes are on the other side and I can just dial it back from there. These are skills that amateurs are just not practicing. They're practicing trying to get the perfect position each time. Often the biggest kind of shift in a student's performance is when you get them to feel very different. Think about any lessons that you've had where you've changed the grip or swing movement. What do you say or feel? What do students generally think? Cool, that feels really different. They both feel really different for me because I'm shifting the needle to be able to find out where I want the needle to settle. If you aren't shifting your needle, if you're not practiced moving that face, moving that needle, you're not actually practicing the skill of golf, which is controlling the face, not making it hit one spot every time. That's part of it, but you need to be able to hit other spots as well. So if you want to hit that one spot every time, you've got to know each side of the other spots. And now look at the face, 6.5 closed. So I'm able to really manipulate that face. Then in turn, my shots, because I've got awareness of how to move that face as it spins around my body. And the way I'm controlling that is really here. So really around wrists and forearms. I'm basically doing this as the club spins around my body. I'm practicing and playing with how much I'm turning it. So in here, really moving it around forearms and wrists with both hands to try and get a feel of that flat surface. The amount of students I teach that I say, where would you think the face should be at this point, or what might make it go left or more right? And they cannot tell you. I just think is, wow, how are you practicing? How are you finding where zero is? So a great skill for when you're playing. Do somewhere you really fan the face open and just commit and whack and watch the ball go. Do somewhere you really turn the face down to the ground and whack them, see the shape, find out where they go. And then the real skill is being able to, rather than move it by 15, 5, 6, 7, 8 degrees like I'm doing there, I'm doing the extreme version, is then can you do smaller version? Can you only move it now by 3 degrees and get a calm down version of those shots? Because both of those shots are shots I can game if you just calm them down. High carve to the right, if I halve that curvature, it's a cut drive, I can game that one. Big snap hook to the left, if I can halve that curvature, might get a little bit more height, and now I've got a drawing drive. And then in between that, hopefully I'll find my middle point. Then if you're really going for it on your practice, you can work in the themes of the backswing. So can you theme the backswing in direction while doing the wrist as well? These are skills. Ask yourself right now while watching this video and post in the comments down below, can you control these skills? Are you practicing these skills? Let me tell you now for a fact, the better player I get coming through the studio, the better player I get coming for lessons, they can just do this. You ask them to hit a big high cut, they'll do it. You ask them to hit a low hook, they'll do it. They'll have triggers. They might not be able to articulate exactly what position they're into, but they can pull it off subject to another trigger. Hit this shot or that shot. And some of them you can say, you know, just bow the wrist and hit one, they hit a low duck up. You think, okay, yeah, they get the principles of the face in relationship to that path. Please, please, please start practicing these skills. And then the last skill is ordering your backswing. So I have an order of movement in my backswing. I have a rotation in my hips. I have a rotation in my shoulders. I have certain tilts in my shoulders and certain tilts in my hip. And if you start measuring these, they're actually really complex. There's bends and side bends, forward leans. It's like it gets a little 3D, kind of flicks people's heads around. But some basic ideas you want. The pattern I like to see, which is going to help you deliver better angle of attacks, better face the path with your drivers, is trying to get the hips to turn around themselves. So we don't want big sways. And with a driver, we need your upper body moving behind the ball a little bit more, so you've got these tilts. So hips are going almost this way, upper body going this way. The most common order mistake I see from golfers is as they pull the club back, they're almost doing it with their hips. We get this sway and this stacking on top of the ball. If you watch me hit a shot with this, that's a very common short hitting fairway drive, but right off the top, almost a complete miss. So if you're that person hitting that big high toe sky, that's a common movement that does it. My angle of attack on that club was like 6 or 7 down. Opposed to if I can turn my hips, get them rotating, right pocket goes back, upper body goes behind the ball, and then hit it, I can start getting up and through it, and I start sending it. My angle of attack on that one was 4 up, so the club is coming 4 degrees up as it hits the ball, and it's allowing me to push that club out in front of me on my straightest paths. Now for some of you watching, you will do this order naturally and you won't need to think about it. You are someone who just lets the hip goes back and your upper body goes behind it, but there's plenty watching who will be giving it the sway, stacking on top. This is just making such a rod for your own back. It's one of the biggest kind of power sappers in movements I see from golfers, and one of the worst movements for controlling angle of attack, strike and launch angle with the ball. Simple drill to see if you're turning and ordering in a more constructive way with your driver. Just line your driver up with your lead arm here, so it's in line, say, with your belt buckle, so the middle of your chest. Now I can't see the golf ball because I can just see my hand here. What I'm going to do is make a backswing where I feel like my right hip goes back. No sway allowed, so I can even watch my hips and just feel like I turn back this way. Then when I get to the most, my kind of completed hip turn, I want to get my upper body looking at the ball from this direction of the club. So what I'm going to do is put that together. You can use your right hand if you want. Hips go back, upper body goes behind the ball. I can see the ball from this side of the club. Now if I do the most common sway movement, so hips are going to go this way as they rotate. As I get to the top of my swing here, I can see the ball out the left side of this club. This movement needs to go. We need to get you feeling like you're ordering this way. This is something you can practice at the range with this drill. Do a few demos where you feel like this is going back. Are you able to see the ball from behind this side of the club? You don't want to do it by swaying over there. Remember, your hips need to stay where they are as they rotate, and try and work that into an actual driver swing. This will really help you, people who are getting that ordering sequence so wrong on the way back that gets them in such a mess on the way down. Again, for some of you watching, this one won't apply, and the first 2 points is really everything I want you to start practicing. But if you put this third one in there, which is a real common one with students, it's, you know, if you haven't got control of the themes of your backswing, you haven't got control of the face, then you put this sway in there. We see a lot of variables, and then people just stop using their driver. If you stop using your driver, you're leaving so many yards out there on the table. Give it a practice. Let me know how you get on. Let me know if these tips help or not, and if there's something else you want me to address and talk about, let me know in the comments down below. But honestly, just believe in your practices a little bit more as a way of working out where wrongs are as well as rights. That's the biggest thing, hopefully, you can take from this. I see a lot of people practicing trying to get exactly right. You'll find the best golfers in the world know exactly where wrong is, and then they're trying to fine tune into where correct is, but they still have very good awareness of where creates big high blocks and low hooks and those kind of things. That's why they're really good at recovery shots, because they use those wrongs actually in situation on the course. Let me know how it goes. Let me know if it helps. If you like the video, make sure you hit the like button down there, and don't be afraid to subscribe to the channel if you're not subscribed already. Plenty more free golf content on the way. Thanks as always for watching, and if you don't follow me on TikTok, maybe head over to TikTok, Mark Crossfield 1, because there was someone who already taken the name, unfortunately. I've got some fun tips on there as well. Speak to you all soon.